G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/DatingHell. Now if you love me like I love you, then you know what to do. Want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, smash that like button, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user existencedeclined, titled, "You're overreacting and need to calm down." TLDR, met a guy online once for an hour and he blew up my phone with multiple calls and voice messages the next day stating that I'm the one. So, I met this guy on OkCupid. He was fairly cute, the conversation flowed nicely, and we ended up meeting at a park for a little bit where we went on a walk and just talked about ourselves and life in general. After about an hour of this, I decided to head home afterwards, as I had things to do that day, and he went in for a kiss, which was very awkward, as I didn't know the guy very well. I mean, we've only been chatting in person for an hour, but thankfully it was brief, and I kinda just put it into the back of my mind after. The very next day, I chaperoned my younger cousin, and his friends who wanted to go to an anime convention and forgot about my phone at home. We left in the morning and didn't come back till like 4 to 5 in the afternoon. When we got back, I noticed my phone was lighting up like crazy, so I checked it to find out that OkCupid guy had left me like over 100 text messages and 30 voicemails demanding to know where I was, asking why I wasn't answering, demanding that I pick up so that I can go on a date with him right then and there. He also sent me pictures of what he planned to make me for dinner at his place. There were also texts saying that I was really perfect for him and that he deleted the dating app after meeting me because he was absolutely convinced that I was the one for him. Needless to say, this was like 130 plus red flags for me, so I texted him back stating that I don't think we're going to work out because he was coming on a little too strongly, and wished him the best of luck in the future. That's it. That's all I said to him. He responds in the text by telling me that I'm overreacting and that I need to calm down. At that point, I was more than done with the entire interaction, so I didn't respond. And thankfully, for whatever reason, he didn't push the situation. Until 6 months into dating my ex-boyfriend whom I met after. While in bed with my then boyfriend, I got a text from OkCupid guy that reads, "I've found someone better than you. Delete my number." Like, okay, don't have to ask twice. That's kind of hilarious if I'm honest. That ending is the perfect "this would be my perfect for my worst date" podcast. What a tool. Having said that, how did you leave your phone at home? Lol, I'd have major anxiety. We were in a rush to get everyone together and to the convention, and I guess I wasn't thinking much about it at the time. Luckily my cousin had his phone, so his mum was able to check in occasionally. Reminds me of a guy I dated off of OkCupid. He was the nicer cousin or something, I suppose. We hit it off relatively well, but he was just very clingy. I'd usually respond to his texts within a day at the longest, but this didn't stop him from saying that when I didn't respond, it would turn his day into a sad one or something along those lines. He got upset when I posted a link to a blog post about Jessica Jones, nice guys, and male toxicity on Facebook, as he thought it was about him since it said "nice guys" in the title. He apparently had never heard of the phrase before, and I had to explain the concept, and that it had been around for a while as a term. This was just after we agreed to go our different ways, since we weren't compatible. He responded later with a link about why women don't like nice guys, as he thought it would be a rebuttal to the link that I posted, showing that he missed the point of what the JJ article was about. He was kind of socially awkward, which I think was due to his upbringing. He would later text me around Christmas to just generally talk, and then told me that he was dating someone else. He didn't really respond much after I congratulated him on finding her. I really was happy he found her though. Apparently they're still together, which I'm glad for. He wasn't a bad person, just someone who was really, really socially awkward. Posted by user Mel Marie's Sparrow, titled, "Thank God I'm not on dating sites anymore." So, back in my first year of college, I had downloaded plenty of Fish just so I can get a little bit more comfortable talking to people, and I had explicitly put down that I was just looking for friends and I was not interested in relationships. I talked with a few people here and there, nothing serious, but there was one guy in particular who, now that I'm looking back on it, was very aggressive in talking to me. He would message me all the time, try to get me to hang out with him even though I said that I wasn't comfortable meeting him just yet. I reiterated that I was only looking for friendship and was not into dating at the time. He said it was fine and he just wanted to get to know me as friends. Okay, cool. One day I'm sitting in a Starbucks waiting for my friend who was having a blind date in the corner. She brought me along for safety, and I get a message from this guy asking me what I'm doing. I tell him I'm sitting in a Starbucks while my friend is on her date doing homework, and he asks me where. I just vaguely told him the city I was in because I didn't know exactly where I was since she had driven me and I hadn't paid attention. He responds with, "Okay, no problem." I'm confused, and I say, "What do you mean?" He leaves me on red and doesn't respond. Fast forward an hour later, and he sits down across the table from me with a bag of Hershey's Kisses. Scared the absolute crap out of me. I looked up, and I remember I couldn't even say anything because I was so confused and uncomfortable. He proceeded to apologize for being late. He apparently had to stop at a few Starbucks to find the right one that I was in. What the hell? And he'd also apparently tried to burn me a mixtape, but he gave up and brought me an open bag of chocolate instead. I won't bore you with all the cringy details, but for the next hour, he tried to get me to talk about religion and politics and told me that his dad didn't really care one way or another if I was a different religion or political party. He would be fine with me marrying into the family anyways. He also kept trying to touch my hand and asked me why I didn't wear any jewelry if I worked in a jewelry store. The final kicker was when he started singing very loudly in the Starbucks to the point that other people kept staring, and when I wouldn't sing with him, tried to get me to go to his car so I could sing for him. I started packing up my school stuff and flagged my friend down in the middle of her date and tell her that we need to get the hell out of there, and he told me to delete my dating app that I was not using for dating and let him be the one for me. Some other weird crap with the guy happened a little after this, but this was the story of the weirdest and creepiest date that I had ever been on, even though I most definitely did not want to be on it. Posted by user IronMask1234, titled, "Accused of because I wear a men's wig and tricked her into sex." Backstory. I went bald at 20. As you can imagine, to a 20-year-old, that completely laid my ego as bare as my crown. It led to some terrible surgical decisions that 34-year-old me despises my past self for making. Basically, I have a partially restored front hairline and wear a wig behind it. Without the wig, I look like a Franciscan monk. It's just a half-inch incredibly wispy and moth-eaten hairline followed by nothing but smooth scalp. We're talking scorched earth, totally smooth scalp. I hate that I did this to myself, and I hate wearing this stupid fudging wig. My UN is IronMask because when I go outside, I literally feel as suffocated by hats or wigs that I feel like the man in the Iron Mask. Terrible, crappy late 90s movie. I tried to not let it keep me down. I finished law school at 33. I am currently 34. Sometimes I wear the wig and go out. Sometimes I get lucky. I know I look good in that wig, but wearing it always feels like clapping on chains. Even though I look good, I know I'm just a prisoner of my own vanity, and it itches, and I sweat under it, and it drives me fudging crazy because I can't ever touch the hairline and even have to use a special technique to scratch it and itch underneath the thing. It's basically just boring your thumbnail into the spot that itches without wiggling it, just stabbing it with your thumbnail over and over until the itch goes away. Did I mention that I hate wearing this fudging thing? And I hate my 25-year-old self for making these permanent decisions? If I shave my head, my surgical scar from 3 transplants to totally rebuild my front hairline would be visible, and my stubble would be apparent as a halo across my head, like the monks of the above picture. My current plan is to get scalp micropigmentation to cover up the scars and fill the void between my back hair and hairline, allowing me to walk around and feel the wind on my head for the first time in 15 years without looking a little disfigured or goofy. My dating situation is super tricky. The first few girls that I stupidly chose to tell, it always ends the exact same way. "You're a little too old for me." I'm used to dating younger guys. I don't ask them to elaborate. I know what they mean without them actually saying it. It ends there, usually. And I tell fewer and fewer women until I don't tell them at all, ever. Basically, I don't really let women get too close to me. I have this wall up and no one can cross it. It's painful to see someone try to scale it. I don't do drama, I don't get angry, I don't get jealous. I don't even get sad anymore. I just become a ghost. Texts get less and less frequent, no voice calls, and I'm always busy. Story. I met V while walking my dog. Super sweaty and under my hat. I like to think I'm a super friendly and bubbly guy. It's really just an overcompensating defense mechanism from my shattered ego. So people like to talk to me, and I can never seem to shut up. I freely admit I talk way too much, and I will dominate a conversation if you let me. She has a dog too. We bumped into each other 3 times before that, and we found out we have a lot in common. We were both lawyers. She was 5 years my senior career-wise, and 4 years my senior age-wise. She was cute. She, to my shock, invited me up to her apartment to smoke some weed. I don't see marijuana as a hard drug of any kind, and I don't find its use unethical in any way. I partook, as did she. After talking and getting to know each other for a while, it becomes clear that she is interested in me sexually. How do I know? She grabs my dick. I'm leaving out a lot of details here, but at the same time I was panicking because I was wearing a hat. I made some excuse about being super into this as I gestured over her hand on my genitals, but that I had to shower. I ran home and speed attached my wig, showed up and we had sex. Then we took a nap. I left because I had to finish walking my dog and do some house errands. The next day, we went on a date to a fancy restaurant. I have to say, it was super awkward and weird, and it became apparent that something wasn't quite right. She seemed, as I have no other words to describe it, melancholic, and frequently brought up her ex, exhibited mood swings that would ultimately settle on depression, and culminated on me being told to leave after I playfully bit her foot during a massage. The following week she lost her job, told me that I was an idiot for failing my first bar exam, and that I wasn't cut out to be a lawyer. The actual conversation was a little more colourful than that, and we stopped talking for a bit. Once again, I am leaving out a lot of detail here, because it would be a little too lengthy for Reddit otherwise, and those details are what I, with I assume to some degree of bias, consider them irrelevant. 6 months go by without communication with V. I have a small private garden attached to my apartment. Every morning I let my dog out, first thing to pee. He never poops in there, thankfully, and waits for me to leash him for a short walk. Unbeknownst to me, my gardeners left my gate open and unlocked. I discontinued their services a week earlier, electing to cut my own grass. They hopped the fence and couldn't figure out how to relock my biometric lock, so they left it open. My first son escaped. I bumped into V while frantically searching for him. She offered to help. My dog turned out to be fine, and I found him across the street at a baseball field. We live next to the park. I profusely thank her for her offer, and she asks to come over. I politely declined, as I had work to do that day. I bumped into her again about a week later. This time I was free all afternoon. I invited her into my garden. I put a crazy amount of work into it. I have poet's jasmine, tuberose, lavender, snapdragon, a fully stocked herb garden, 5 species of tomatoes, mangosteen, 4 fully fruiting miracle berry bushes, and the centerpiece, a 15-foot tall fragrant gardenia tree, trained into an umbrella shape with pink blossoming orchids attached to the lower branches. I invited her inside after a bit. It gets hot in Miami this time of the year, and the outdoor couch I have is hit by direct sunlight. For some cheese, nuts, and to try out vin jaune, which is a yellow wine. A specialty wine that was described to me as the durian fruit of wine. It was so unique and paired so well with the brie and nuts that we had the whole bottle, which you can't find in Miami. I had it shipped from a specialty store. She deserved at least that for her concern over my dog. She seemed fine at first, but things quickly took a dark turn. I confessed to her that I was bald, and the extent of my surgical operations. I took off my hat for her, the only person other than my surgeons to see my bald head ever. She offered to have sex with me if I shave it off. I declined. Not because I didn't want to have sex with her. She's fairly pretty, a professional-ish ballerina dancer, on top of being a lawyer actually. But if I were to shave my head, the scars would be visible, as would the stubble from a detached hairline, explained in the detail in the backstory above. I felt she deserved an explanation as to why I wasn't totally comfortable around her, and why I turned her down sometimes, because I had to run away to attach a fudging wig onto my head. How bloody embarrassing. We drink and smoke more, and I start to tell her the full story, that I went bald at 20, blah blah blah. She starts to really tear into me. She tells me I'm a sociopath narcissist, and I have to kind of agree with her for the most part. I am most definitely a prisoner of my own vanity, and I know how trivial hair actually is now that I'm 34. But I don't consider myself a bad guy. She asks me, knowing that I don't date because of my hairline problem. I avoid the girl ultimately telling me I'm too old for her, as has happened multiple times after revealing I wear a wig, by letting the relationship fizzle out after the first week. Yes, I know I have a problem. I realize as soon as I tell her, because I'm being honest with her, how that sounds. I confess that I believed girls wouldn't ever sleep with me if they knew I was bald, how I really looked like, and I confessed that I had rationalized my wig by saying, it's the same as girls wearing makeup, or thinking that everyone puts their best foot forward when they first meet, so this is acceptable. I'm going to skip a lot of her talking crap to me and just focus on what she said before she stormed out of my apartment. She told me that she too would never have slept with me if she knew what I really looked like. This is after offering to have sex with me if I shave my head. Calls me a loser, and then tells me I am not honest enough to be a lawyer, to the point where she said she would submit a complaint to the FL bar to keep me from getting my license. I just passed the bar last February. She then said that if you think about it, I didn't really give consent for you to have sex with me. You defrauded me, you're a fraud, and that was rape. She leaves before telling me that, were she a less peaceful person, she would have stabbed me. Conclusion. Am I the a-hole? I did technically trick her into sex. The lawyer part of me knows that it is such a laughable claim, and that she would never file it to the bar because of the danger that she herself would get disbarred for such a complaint. But I did trick her, just like I tricked a lot of women into screwing me. I'm a fake person, and the part of me that women are attracted to isn't even part of my actual body. I try to overcompensate by being a conversationalist and being almost overly nice, but it's all just a defense mechanism. I feel trapped by my own brain. I can't tell anymore if I'm the a-hole, if I'm the bad guy. I can't tell anymore, guys. I can't even fudging tell anymore. Oh my god. She needs professional help and you just need to stay away from her. Well said, it really is as simple as this. You did not trick her into having sex because you wore a wig. Many people wear wigs for many different reasons. Do not interact with this woman anymore. She is not right. Also, your garden sounds heavenly. According to your theory, then anyone who wears spandex, push-up bras, makeup to look prettier, high heels to look taller would also be the same abuser category as you. And it seems that she is definitely unstable, crazy, and she was the one who grabbed you and came onto you. She did not ask consent before grabbing your dick, did she? For a lawyer, that's probably the first thing you should have thought of and told her. Posted by user sketchtress, titled, Boyfriend doesn't believe me when I told him I was at a funeral. Pretty much assaults my mum and gets his ass chewed out for it, then makes up unsavory rumors about me. Now, I'm not sure whether this story belongs on this subreddit, but I wanted to share it nonetheless. Just let me know if I should move it into any other subreddits. I just don't know where else to post it. Quick preface so you know who I am. I'm currently a 15-year-old girl, living in the frigid climate we know as England, and who is a magnet for strange conversations and weirder people. My ex-boyfriend, who we'll call K, was a visually impaired boy who I'd been decent friends with for about 2 years before this story happened. Now, we're skipping straight past we got together, since he didn't seem to be at all strange before that. However, as soon as we did become a couple, he immediately got super touchy and invasive of private conversations, trying to kiss me out of nowhere. No thanks, not kissing after a week of dating, and trying to butt into very intimate conversations with me and my girl buddies. Even bigger nope. Even if we told him that it was period related. He just said, I want to know. It's not like it's a big deal. Might not be a big deal to you, but pre-adolescent girls? Excuse me? Anyway, this main story takes place around April 2018. My great-grandma had just unfortunately passed away of old age, and I was going to the funeral. I sent out a group text to all my friends and Kay that I wouldn't be responding to any messages since I was going to a funeral. Kay texted me back, so I know he saw it. A few hours later after the service, I and my cousin walked to the car to head home. I switched on my phone, and I had 3 text messages from my mum saying that Kay had come to my house 4 times since I had left, apparently ranting and raving about how I wasn't actually at a funeral. He could hear my TV on in my room. Note that it was my brother playing on my TV since he wanted to go on my PS4. He was only 8 at that point, and didn't know my great-grandma, so he didn't come to the funeral. My mum calmly explained to him that my brother was playing on my TV, where he shouted again about us being liars and tried shoving past my mum to get inside the house, like physically pushing her. I know that part since we drove up to the house right as he shoved her. Which then my mum proceeded to royally chew him out and pretty much throw him out of my house. I stayed with him for an extra 2 months before finally breaking up with him, where he apparently told everyone in the school that I had slept with him and gave him an STD, which was, coincidentally, the night I had spent at a friend's house and she had video proof of me being at her house. Geez, that guy needs to be locked up, doesn't he? What a creeper. Posted by user existencedeclined, titled, The Awkward Psychologist. So, gather round folks for the story of Dr. Love, fake name for obvious reasons, the awkward psychologist. So I met Dr. Love on OkCupid. I know, I should have learned my lesson after the pushy OkCupid guy, but now I know better, I swear. And we agreed to get pizza for our first meeting. It was delicious, by the way. Too bad I can never return for fear of running into Dr. Love ever again. Over a pie of gooey mouth-watering cheese pizza, we get to talking about our lives, and I ask him about his work, since he mentioned being a psychologist. I ask him if he's ever had any memorable cases, and he responds by saying that he doesn't want to talk about work, which, okay, fine. I work in healthcare too, and sometimes I just want to leave my work at work, so I get it. So I change the subject to our mutual experiences with online dating, and he tells me about how he's trying to get back into the game after having divorced his ex-wife of 10 years after she caught him cheating. Twice. It's at this point that my danger zone alarm starts sounding off inside my head, but I try to give him the benefit of the doubt as maybe he's reformed. Also, really good pizza. The date progresses, and I tell him about my past relationships and how I broke up with my last ex because he wasn't giving me the affection I needed, and that I had learned over the last few years that I wasn't very vanilla, and needed to express that side of me instead of suppressing it like I did with my ex who was very vanilla. This proved to be a very big mistake in being so open with this guy, because immediately after I mentioned this, Dr. Love says, "Oh yeah? Bring your toys over to my place and we'll explore that side of you together." Now, anyone who understands BDSM, like truly and fully participates in it, knows that there should be a foundation of trust before any scenes are carried out, and seeing as I just met this guy for only a few hours, I was not about to do anything physical with him, nor was I at all suggesting in any way, shape, or form that I wanted to. Not only that, but it's a little bit weird to be barking orders at me when we had no previous interactions. So it's at this point that I decide that I'm done with this date. And luckily there wasn't much of the pizza left, so I asked for the check. He insisted on paying, and I just really wanted to get the hell out of there, so I don't argue. There was some forced awkward small talk while we waited for the check, mostly because he was trying to ask me what my kinks were, and I tried my best to dodge his kink and BDSM related questions by saying that I had to get going because I had work early in the morning, which, thanks to working in dermatology, was actually true, or pretended that I simply didn't hear his questions. The check finally gets paid, and he offers to escort me to the train. I don't want to endure another 5 minutes with this man, but I bite my tongue and let him walk me out. Along the way to the train, he gets all excited like a kid in a candy store for some reason and says verbatim, "I'm imagining what sex would be like with you. I bet it'll be amazing." I cringe so hard and die on the inside at this. Like, I don't know how someone who studies human behavior can be so self-unaware. But nonetheless, I just grit my teeth and hurry to the train. At the train, I quickly give him a pat on the shoulder and tell him to get home safe before dashing down the stairs. Not even a peck on the cheek, not even an awkward side hug. Just a pat because I need to go, go, go. Some 30 minutes later, I'm recanting this tale about Dr. Love to my best friend over the phone, and I get a text from none other than Dr. Love himself. It read, "Don't forget your toys next time, or I can buy some, just send me a list, winky face." I, of course, didn't respond and just blocked him. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to tell me what you thought about it down in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, also don't forget to subscribe. It would really help out with my channel growth. And also, a huge shout out to my channel patrons and members. I just love you guys and thank you for supporting me on this journey. If you guys are new to the channel and you'd like to support me, links are down below for the Patreon, or you can click the join button next to subscribe if you'd like to become a channel member. Alright guys, that's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.